Hello and welcome to the Next Step Help podcast. We changed the name because we wanted to. Today we're going to be talking about an in-depth analysis on NoFap. So Sam, what is NoFap? What's its history? What are the common beliefs? What's the gist?
So the NoFap movement comes from the subreddit, right? That's where the NoFap kind of modern idea came from. Of course, you've got ancient beliefs like brahmacharya from Hinduism, and then celibacy in things like Catholicism, and that whole no sex before marriage kind of thing. I think that's definitely given it a good grounding throughout history. And the more recent NoFap movement is kind of a very interesting phenomenon because you've got it's a lot more, I would say, popular.
Yes.
Because of a reaction to the progress of high-speed internet pornography, which has become more of a problem. Therefore, far more people are addicted to porn, and therefore far more people are trying to get off of it. And it has created a community which has good sides and it has downsides, the community. But every year, I'd say the NoFap community doubles. Like, it is coming up. Like, it's a big thing, especially in self-help for men. I mean, if you have been looking to improve yourself and you haven't heard of NoFap, I'd be quite surprised. And even if you're a girl, right?
Looking. Yeah. What are some common beliefs?
So the common beliefs of NoFap are number one, you've got 90-day reboot, so that if you don't watch porn or masturbate for 90 days, you will have a reboot in your brain and all of the dopamine receptors will be rewired. Also, common beliefs are you'll be more confident, you will have better memory, you will... I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. You'll be more confident, better memory, less social anxiety, more intelligent, better gains in the gym. You'll be able to run further, have more stamina. You basically just become a better, more fulfilled man.
Yes.
Some of them are absolutely true and undeniable. Some of them are debatable, to say the least.
Anecdotal sort of evidence on some of them. But some of them, like the gains in the gym, is definitely true because bodybuilders before a competition will, retain their semen for at least a week so that they can build muscle better.
Exactly. Yeah. And the number one belief that I actually completely forgot about, it's probably the most important one for a lot of people initially getting on NoFap. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do believe I do, but do you want to hammer it home?
Attraction from women.
100%.
That is, for a lot of people, the main reason. Which is ironic, which I think is quite ironic, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes. So I think for the next step, we're gonna sort of talk about NoFap in general and as its community. So we've sort of listed some of the benefits, but then there are some real benefits. There are definitely things that affect your physical health and your mental health.
Absolutely.
And we want to build on the sort of idea that we're looking at it from sort of a community perspective, I think. So in this, some of the benefits is so there's many, on the Reddit, there's Discord, I'm sure there's Twitter and all that sort of stuff for many different servers. And they're very helpful tools in your NoFap journey because they set up accountability. You've got people you can chat to and ask questions, people who are further on the journey. It can help you count streaks. And this is something we're definitely going to talk about in a minute. Streaks. Yeah, but it's the community, it's the desire. There's all the tools, all the research, and some different tools and stuff to help you.
So some of the benefits would be because of the community of NoFap, a lot more people will find it. I know for myself, I found it because of a bigger community, YouTube videos, stuff like that. And because of that, there's more research, a lot of people are very science minded. I need the evidence that this is actually a thing, because obviously, and this is going off a little bit, but there is a quote from a philosopher called Hume David Hume, which says reason is a slave to the passions. And what that means is if you feel very strongly emotional, like a very strong emotion towards something or a very strong desire towards it, your brain will automatically rationalize that as being valid. And so this is why I hear a lot of people going, you can't, or NoFap can't be scientific. It's not scientific. Look at all the evidence. You'll get prostate cancer. You'll die because your nuts will fill up and explode. I don't know, stuff like that. Yeah. That's the science! When there is actually, because of the NoFap community, a buttload of science on yourbrainonporn.com, which I'd highly recommend checking out. Yep. And I think that is a great motivator for people, and an extraordinary benefit of the NoFap community and helping people quit porn is people understanding how their brain responds to porn.
100%. And I think this can be motivating for many people, because if you read that book, honestly, you're going to be so terrified of watching porn ever again.
Yeah.
And be like pretty sad for how many people haven't read that and realized, don't know how bad it is for them.
Exactly. So Jack, we've gone through a lot of common problems with the community. Do you think there are any common problems with NoFap, or that could occur because someone is on NoFap?
Well, I'm gonna slightly bring it back to the community with the idea of streaks. So streaking is the idea. Well, maybe not that one, but streaks. Counting your streaks is the thing of counting how many days you've been able to not fap for, effectively. And it's one of the key sort of things in sort of the NoFap communities. And I mean, there's bots on Discords that do it. They give you different roles and that sort of thing. And this can, to an extent, be helpful. It can be slightly motivating to see that number increase every day. And all you got to do is, not fap today, not fap today. So you just keep doing it. The problem with this is with the mindset of the streak and all you have to do is not fapping today, eventually you will relapse. And this just happens with counting streaks because you're counting the days you've not done it, which basically means your mind is focusing on basically avoiding relapse. And there's a hilarious trick, which is if I say, don't think of a pink elephant, pretty much every single one of you listeners will have thought of a pink elephant. And this is exactly what's going on with these streaks. So you think, don't relapse. And the mind supposedly cannot hear the negative. So it's just hearing relapse. And your willpower, as you go on, you'll be able to hold it off for a while. And then bam, you relapse. And because you're counting your streaks, you'll feel so much worse because you've relapsed. Like, oh, I've just, ruined 40 days worth of progress. I feel shit, And then you restart at the bottom. I mean, this has got to be one of the sort of worst things, but it's kind of, seemingly helpful at the start. Sam, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I was just going to say, it's similar with the NoFap community and sitting there binge watching NoFap videos. It's something which will initially feel good because you're like, yes, I'm part of this kind of secret club. I know that's how I felt when I first got on it. I'm part of this secret club. I'm going to get all these superpowers. But that was the period in my life where I relapsed the most, where I'd go on like 7-day streak after 7-day streak, 7-day streak, 1 week relapse, 1 week relapse. Because all I was doing was watching NoFap videos. NoFap. So, it's a really tricky place to be because you want the information from the community. You want the support from the community. But at the same time, that can actually be unhelpful. Yeah, detrimental, unhelpful for your progress if you actually do want a big streak. Now, my critique of the streak would actually be slightly different to yours. I do think that counting the days is problematic. However, your argument seemed to state that having a long streak is the end goal of NoFap. And I'm going to ask you a question now. What do you think is the end goal of NoFap?
The ideal end goal of NoFap, it's not written anywhere in any of these servers or in any of the people advertising NoFap, because of course, if you get to this stage, then you're not a customer anymore. And the ideal point of NoFap is to completely forget that fapping and porn is an option. So imagine there are 3 timelines. So the first one, you're in your sort of like goomer. Can I say goomer? Yeah, your cringe goomer stage where you're, relapsing, playing video games, not on the self-improvement journey. And you get to a point where you feel so bad, you're looking for answers. And here comes like the middle stage, which is the NoFap, section. You join the servers, you read stuff, you try a streak, and this goes on for a while, and you're trying to understand why do I keep seeming to fail? And eventually you get to a point, there's a jump in between how you do it, where you come out the side of NoFap, and just fapping doesn't sort of exist in your brain anymore. So you're out a long day, you're planning your day, you're thinking, like, what can I do? And fapping just isn't on there. You're no longer thinking about porn, you forget pretty much. Well, it's sort of hard to do that in today's age, but you pretty much forget that it exists. You just forget about fapping, and then you just don't relapse. It's not something that happens in your brain. You don't think, I'm going to relapse. It's not there. So that is the ideal stage that we want to move you to, that like at the other end of NoFap is pretty much the perfect place to be. And I definitely think there is use in the NoFap community as it starts to transition you towards this place. But then there needs to be some development in the NoFap community and the ideals and stuff like that in order to sort of have this as the goal that most people understand. Whereas currently people think that being on NoFap is the be-all and end-all of, their self-improvement journey, which is definitely not true.
Yeah, I think that's something I definitely went through. So I started NoFap in 2020, and that was a long period of on and off streaks. So as I said before, 7-day relapse, 7-day relapse. And what I'd find is that the first few days after a relapse, I wouldn't even try, because I was like, oh, well, I relapsed. All I'm going to do is fail. That's just how it works. Yeah. It's not how it works. For me, 7-day streaks, I didn't think this at the time, but looking back, huge progress compared to where I was before. And so I think that's something that the NoFap community does need to talk about more, is instead of valuing streaks, it should be total days clean.
100%.
Because if it was... the problem with this addiction, and it's another thing that the NoFap community seems to kind of skip over, is that there's a barrier between getting drugs. You have to have a dealer, you have to ring them, and it is breaking the law. There's a barrier between getting alcohol, especially if you're underage, right? You need to pay money
for it as well.
Exactly. I could, if I wanted to, I could literally get porn up in 3 seconds from right now.
Yeah, in the middle of this podcast, just straight up pull up porn.
And so I feel like staying away from porn is a lot more difficult than other drugs, because it's literally always there. It's always available. Yep. And so we shouldn't focus on, hey, I've got a really... If you have got a high streak, like us, very, it's very helpful. But say you went 30 days, relapsed once, and then went another 30 days, you haven't reset halfway through those 30 days. Okay, if you want to do if you want to be a massive gorm about it and be like, oh, what's the average? Do the maths. What's the exact day count that I say? I say you're on like day 40, day 45. Okay, so it's not about counting the days. It's about making the days count.
100%.
And that is something that I think the NoFap community is actually getting on board with, is definitely noticing. And I think it would be unfair to say they weren't. But I still think that streaks and high streaks are valued far too highly.
Yeah. I think this is sort of, you immediately come into NoFap and you're looking around and you see some dudes on a 3-year streak or like 90 days. You're like, oh my God, that's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. And unfortunately, doing that, you put a goal of getting to 90 days. You haven't put the goal of I never want to watch porn again. You set the goal of I want to get a 90-day streak. Okay, what happens when you reach the goal? Do you reset? Like, I want to now reach 180 days, or do you relapse? Do you I want to reach my goal. I thought it was going to be better than this. Oh, what's the point? And this is. Oh yeah, go on, Tom.
No, please.
Oh, okay. I was just going to build in the idea that with Sam's idea of you go 30 days and you relapse once, and then you go another 30 days. The NoFap community, it needs to build in, it needs to develop and like change some of it. So we need to bring in more like reflection on the thing. So we don't just want to like, your streak is all you're worth. What learnings have you made? What experiences have you gained? What insights can you share with other people? It's this sort of thing which the community could do really well. And I think there are some instances where it does do it well. But unfortunately, given that there's no real center, and I mean, some people on the NoFap servers are saying, if you get an urge, go put your testicles in cold water, which it's not very helpful for, that's not really a long-term solution. Oh, sorry, gotta go put my testicles in water, in the middle of like a school lesson. Okay. Yeah, it's that sort of point.
I suppose that's another thing, is that all of this is linked to escapism, and YouTuber Hamza, very good YouTuber, he says this a lot, and it's the only thing that's true. Addiction is a symptom of mental health problems. And don't think, oh, well, I've never felt depressed, I've never felt anxious, I must not have mental health. First of all, in this day and age, very impressive. Congratulations.
Yeah, first off, hats off.
Second of all, mental health isn't this thing that has to be like gate kept. Be like, oh no, I have real anxiety. You have a good life. You can't have. That is something everyone has. Everyone has mental health problems. And in the description of this video, I will link a course you can do to help your mental health. It's a free course. Sign up. Just do it. Just do it. It's literally one of the best things you can do for effective habit change and productivity and quitting porn. Jack, something I wanted to ask you is more about the community in general and how they communicate with one another. So would you say that the red pill community has had any effect on the NoFap community, and do you think it's positive or negative?
I think it's a really good question, and it's quite hard to answer because they are fundamentally two separate groups. NoFap and red pill are separate, but given a sort of an outsider's onlooker's perspective, they just sort of blend all this I hate women, self-improvement, all that sort of stuff into one box. And it's just really unhelpful for someone. Because first of all, it might put some people off trying to improve, given that they'd be labelled as a woman hater.
Yeah.
And that's just not what we want.
Well, what I would say is that red pill isn't actually like that, or it isn't entirely like that, and it's very wrong to say that. It's very easy for people who are struggling to improve or don't want to improve to see the worst parts of a community. Look at us. Actually, look, even if you are, and so, or just a different community. Like, look at us when we think about people who don't improve. We think of like, what is it, blue pill or something. We automatically think of the most like weak, insecure, just
addict heavy, constantly,
lazy,
weed, all that sort of.
You think of a stereotype, right? And so, and because you kind of disassociate with that group, you want them to be as bad as they can be. That's how it works. Because like, they're not me, they must be bad. That's how the human brain works. And that's another problem with the dichotomy of blue pill, red pill. It's not blue pill, red pill. It's rainbow journey or something like that, right?
It's a spectrum.
It is a spectrum, right? So, and that's the thing. And I think the red pill woman hating stuff it does exist. I think it would be, and it definitely exists in the NoFap community a lot. I mean, and that's not to say NoFap itself is bad. That's not to put the whole NoFap community down, but it can't be denied that men in the NoFap community, boys in the NoFap community, like young boys, will post some of the most erroneous, degenerate things possible that make any blue pillars look like saints, right? Because and that's something as well I wanted to touch upon. NoFap isn't about kind of being like, it isn't about hatred. And I think that's something that a lot of people have wrong is, hey, I've quit masturbation. Especially if they're underage, most boys will have only ever seen women, or mostly seen women in porn. Okay? Porn has warped their mind to objectify women. Now women are the antagonists because that's the only thing they've ever seen them as, is objects that make sex happen. And now they don't want to make masturbation happen. So that is a problem. And I think that itself is actually the fault of porn. Mm-hmm. But if the NoFap community can stop embracing these idiotic jokes, these absolutely like erroneous perspectives of like, haha, women bad. Mm-hmm. It's not clever, it's not funny, and what it's doing is it's just further warping the minds of people who've already been warped through porn. So don't encourage that. NoFap should be about self-love, community love, and really, if you're going to sit there and be like, oh, well, one of the main reasons I'm on NoFap is because porn objectifies women, don't then post stupid things about women being bad and terrible and stuff. And that's where the difference comes in. You can be in the NoFap community and be a deeply loving soul. And this isn't about, I know exactly what people are going to think. I mean, oh, social justice warrior. Oh, we can't hate women. Oh, whatever. It's not what I'm trying to say. You will get more benefits from love than hatred. All the time. 100%. All the time. Have you got anything you want to add, Jack?
Well, I was just going to bring on the point, which is like, ideally, you wouldn't, if you were sort of on the journey, you'd get to a point where you wouldn't be on the NoFap community. You wouldn't see any of this. You'd just be in the point where fapping isn't an option. And of course, like, yes, you can try and help people. And I think this might be, hopefully, where NoFap evolves to. Because, of course, NoFap is quite a new movement. And of course, because of that, it's got quite a few kinks, like the misogynistic parts, which just aren't very helpful. So I would sort of hope that they create sort of smaller groups with like one member who's either he's just not in the like community at all, or he's on the point where like he just doesn't fap, but he's come back to try and help other people get to where he's at. So in this sort of point, he can answer questions, and I think keeping it a small group would have a much better and more effective, steps for having like 5 members to one coach than having, a whole general Discord with somebody saying, put your balls in ice water.
Yeah. Or one person to one coach.
Yeah. Funny that.
Nextstephelp.net, ladies and gentlemen. We don't mess around.
Exactly.
But so overall, there is a very nuanced place for community in NoFap. And this has been a bit all over the place, but I think our main focus has been community. So I think the community is beneficial as well as toxic. And I almost think it's kind of a necessary thing at the moment for people to go through. Because, being honest with you, community is what got me on my long NoFap streak.
Yeah. So Sam's had a streak, which how many days? Like 365. It was over a year.
It's over a year, yeah. And with literally hard mode as well, like complete and
yep.
Community is what got me off the ground. It's what really helped me. But now I don't look at it. I don't look at it at all.
Yeah.
And there are problems with being in it, but it's a necessity. So the best thing you can do is, and we can do, all of us, is try and change it for the better, so that it's a place of love and community, respect, rather than what everyone else sees on the outside, which is a bunch of self-improvement red pill gorms who hate women and think that not touching their dick will turn them into Goku from Dragon Ball Z.
Yes. And I think, building on that last point, so this is something I probably should have mentioned earlier, that NoFap, a lot of people see NoFap as the end goal of like, I'll join NoFap and then all my problems will be solved. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, it doesn't help. Well, no, it definitely helps, but it's not the end goal. So, of course, with NoFap, you learn, you reprogram your brain through all this sort of stuff. You learn new techniques. You're in a community like of self-improvement. And then from this sort of like base point, you can then start, transmuting the sexual energy you like retain into different facets of life. And this is what NoFap should advertise more sort of like readily on their page, which is like this sort of point here as well, where you're no longer thinking about fapping, is that NoFap is a tool you should use. It's not the end goal. And that's definitely something that doesn't get touched upon enough in the sort of community.
100%. And what I would, using my kind of literature background, what I would say NoFap does for me is it ignites a fire like here. And that is a feeling of, and I think you can agree, this is a visceral feeling you get. And you can either leave it and it will make you kind of anxious because you have so much energy in you, you'll be like, shh. Or you can harness it, harness the fire, make a coal engine, I don't know where this metaphor is going, and just like fly. And that's the really interesting thing, is that NoFap on its own ain't gonna do much. It's better than masturbating all the time, but
it definitely helps. You
won't be able to get a long streak or quit if all you're doing is playing World of Warcraft all day and not masturbating. That's not going to change your life. You're not going to be like, oh, suddenly women are falling in love with me. And people advertise that because it gets views, because it gets money, because it's interest, like because it's easy, right? It's quick.
Yeah.
No! It's not how it works. It's not how it works.
And it's the saddest thing that there's no easy fixes in self-improvement.
No.
It's a journey. It'll take time, but oh my God, are the rewards worth it? And you need to truly have that desire and that want and that reason for doing it. And then you stick on it, and in 10 years' time, you're going to be a completely new person.
Okay, I agree. So, in conclusion, for our in-depth critique of NoFap, the practice itself, extremely beneficial, but harnessing some of the beliefs around long streaks and engaging with what is at the moment, I would say, 50-50 toxic, loving community, right? And that's the thing. Saying that everyone on there is toxic 100% of the time is a lie. Saying that everyone there is loving, helpful, respectful, wonderful 100% of the time is an even bigger lie, okay? So, community is something that I want people to engage with because it's useful as a tool, and quitting porn is our main goal.
That's the big reason for us. Yeah, this is something we wish NoFap was actually called No Porn, because that's the kicker, really.
Yeah, I mean, maybe porn is worse, name, but I'd say they're both bad, and I think it's fine. And yeah, so practice itself, not fapping and transmuting, together. They're the same thing. Very, 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 very beneficial. The community is where the problems with NoFap come alive. And to conclude, that would be toxic ideas, memes against misogynistic memes that just aren't helpful for our brains. If you really want to be selfish about it, don't be like, I'm trying to protect women. Think about it like, this is degenerating my brain, because it is effectively reinforcing ideas that porn pushes upon you.
Yeah. And through doing that, you can have motivation, which is I'm gonna be the best person to love women and to care for them through this journey. I will get to a point where I'm, I can do it out of love. No, there's no mixed feelings in there or anything.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So
and it's definitely a tool you should use. Don't shy away from it because we've said that it's negative. Just go in with a pinch of salt. Some things in the NoFap community are going to be unhelpful. Some things are going to be helpful. Ideally, you try to find 2 other people who have similar sort of like goals. You chat to them. You build good accountability with them, and then you go through that journey. Hopefully, you can get to the point where you just don't think of fapping as an option, and then spread the love.
Exactly.
That's it.
If you're interested in very affordable one-to-one coaching, check out our website, nextstephelp.net. We will help you with NoFap and holistic self-improvement as a whole. My name is Sam.
My name is Jack. Thank you for listening.